Okay, so this is going to be a quick refresher video on judicial restraint and judicial activism. Judicial restraint is a judicial philosophy in which the judges of a court would play a minimal policy-making role, leaving that duty up to Congress and the legislative branch instead. Advocates of this belief think that judges should only play an arbitrator or referee role in the courts and should stick closely to precedents in the past. In stark contrast, judicial activism is a judicial philosophy in which judges make bold policy decisions and see the Constitution as a living constitution that changes with the time and goes beyond the original author's intent in order to influence public policy. These two philosophies are so important because they are still, to this day, very controversial political issues, especially judicial activism. There are strong disagreements about appropriateness of allowing courts to have the policy-making role, something that the Congress usually controls. Also, recently, judicial activism has been increasing due to the increasing size and scope of government. Laws are unclear and need interpretation, say advocates of judicial activism. Some examples of judicial activism include Brown versus Board of Education court case, which overturned Plessy versus Ferguson, which was a precedent, and ruled that separate but equal was unconstitutional and that desegregated schools must be put to an end. Another example of judicial activism was Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court case that ruled the decriminalization of abortion and also Obamacare. Some AP concepts that are related to judicial restraint and judicial activism are constitutional interpretation, which is a mode or thought that explains how the judiciary should interpret law. And so both judicial restraint and judicial activism are encompassed within this because they're both philosophies. Another AP government concept is statutory construction, which is the judicial interpretation of an act of Congress, something that can also be related to these philosophies because they influence acts. Another concept is separation of powers, a part of the Madisonian model that requires each of the three branches of government to be relatively important to the others so that no one of them can gain too much power. Some critics of judicial activism say that judicial activism actually presses the bounds of separation of powers.